Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the basics of MLA formatting, just basically how to lay things out on the page. We'll have another video and in class be talking later on about specifically how to do a works cited page, which is part of MLA formatting, but this is just talking about, in general, how things are supposed to look on the page. So you'll have a folder that has two things, MLA first page format and sample MLA formatted essay. And then if you go to MLA first page format, you'll see this picture here. Now, before I talk about the details of this, I want to talk about what formatting really is and why that it actually matters. What formatting is just a way of saying, look, I'm going to put certain kinds of information in certain places so that people are going to be able to find it, right? If any of you are into computers kinds of things, a lot of what computers have to do is when they store files or something, they store them in a particular format. I mean, that's why we have things like whether you have a Word document or a PDF or something like that. What we're doing is we're saying there's a certain format, there's a certain way in which we're going to store that information that's going to allow the computer to be able to find it. Well, we do the same kind of thing. It's not as complicated, but the same kind of thing when we put something down on the page. If all of the information is in the right place, if it's always in the same place, then it's going to be easy for us to find what we're looking for. Okay. Now we're going to use what's called MLA format, which stands for the Modern Language Association. It's what we have in the discipline of English. And many of you, after you finish with your English courses, will never have to use MLA formatting again because most other disciplines use other kinds of things. So I'm not concerned with making sure that you have memorized for all time how to do MLA formatting because that's not something that, again, most of you will never need to do. What I do want to make sure that you understand, though, is that there is this thing called formatting, right? And different disciplines have different kinds of formatting, and that formatting really matters. My wife teaches at St. John. She's in health-related professions, and one of the things that she spends a lot of time doing is making sure that her students who are about to become professionals in the field know how to format their reports. She spends a lot of time with that, and they don't know how to do it, right? Now, what I'm going to teach you won't teach you exactly how to do that, but it will teach you how to get used to following a format, realizing that that's what we're doing is we're laying things down in a particular way so that when somebody looks at the page, they can find exactly what it is that they're looking for. And you can see how in a lot of health-related professions, that's really, really important, right? If the information is not where we expect to see it, the medical professionals might miss something, and we might have some kind of a medical error. It's also really important in all kinds of technical situations. We want certain kinds of things laid out in a certain way so we know, is that information actually here, right? Because if the information isn't where we expect it to be, we might think that it doesn't exist, and that might be a problem. So just being able to follow a certain kind of format becomes rather important. That's an important skill. And a lot of what I want you to be able to do when you're following a format is just to look at the model. So we have a model here of what the first page is supposed to look like. And then how is it you can say, oh, I can make mine look exactly like that. Okay, so let's look at what we have for MLA formatting and then see to make sure that you need to do. So in the top right hand corner, we have the last name and the page number, page 1, right? And notice that it's on the first page here. It says the last name in page 1. Some students might say, well, on the first page that's got your full name over here, maybe I don't need that. When you're doing formatting, you can't think about things, right? You don't think about what makes logical sense. In formatting, or at least what makes logical sense to you, in formatting, you follow the format that everybody follows. So if it's got a last name and a page number, and that is on the right-hand side of the page, then yours needs to be the last name and page number on the right-hand side of the page, right? You have to figure out how to get that, and I'll show you exactly how to do that in just a moment. Then you've got your full name over on the left-hand side here, my name, the name of the course. Sometimes this example that I use is sometimes a little bit confusing because it says Humanities 2710, and a lot of students think, well, that's the classroom because we meet in the humanities classroom. But humanities is actually a course that you can actually take. You can take a class in humanities. And so for our purposes, it would be something like, it would be English, right? And be our English course number, 101 or 102. This is for both my 101 and 102 courses. So it would be English 101 or English 102 there. And then you would have the date. And notice how the date goes. It gives the day, then the month, then the year, no commas. This one's kind of old, coming back from 2017, but it goes in that format. And again, make sure you follow the exact format. So when you do your date, if you're writing May 20th, comma 2016, or May 8th, comma 2016, if you're doing that, you're doing that incorrectly. It is the day, then the month, then the full year, no commas. Okay, and so it's just a matter of following exactly what they have there, right? And so this is your name, my name, the course name, the date. We've got a title. You've always got to have a title. You don't need to think too hard about the title. You can call the title, essay number one or whatever it is, just title it with the name of the assignment. That's perfectly fine with me. But notice that the title is going to be centered. Okay. You'll also notice that there's no extra space here between the date and the title. That is, somebody didn't hit enter a bunch of times and there's some extra space so that this starts down in the middle of the page. That's not what MLA formatting does, right? There should be the same amount of space here as there is between any other two lines. Okay. Same thing with the space between the title and the beginning of the paragraph. Sometimes students will add some extra space in there. They feel like it needs to be separate. That's not what MLA formatting does. So again, a lot of what you need to do is just really, hopefully if you have a big screen, you can, and we have them in the lab, you can just put your paper up side by side up against this sample and say, does mine look like the others? Look like the other one, right? Because if it looks the same, then you're good to go. If it doesn't look the same, then you've got a problem, and that's something that needs to be changed there. You also need an indent of 1/2 of an inch, and I'll show you exactly how to do that, of 1/2 of an inch for your paragraphs. Okay, so all of those things, those are the basic things that we have for MLA formatting on the first page, and that's the main thing that you need to be concerned with. The only thing that on the subsequent pages, you do not have this heading here. We just go through, and I'll just show you that in just a second. So the second document you have in here is a sample MLA formatted essay. And so I've opened it in Microsoft Word, and you can see that it has this. It's got last name and first number. Last name and page number, sorry. It's got the name of the student. It's got my name. It's got the name of the course, English 101. Some of you watching this might be writing for English 102, but that's fine. So you would just change it to English 102. Doesn't matter. It's got the date. This was a year and a half ago, 20th of October 2022. So the day, the month, and then the year, no commas or anything. And then we've got the title. The title is going to be centered. There's not extra space. I didn't do something like this, right? So that there's extra space in there. I didn't do that. It's right up there against the top. It's centered. Then I've got the paragraph, 1/2 an inch page break here. Is it 1/2 an inch? 1/2 of an inch break here for the indent. And then we go through, and for all of our other paragraphs, we have 1/2 of an inch indent and no extra space in there. You will also notice we go to the second page. This isn't the full thing, but notice the second page. It has the last name and the page number. But you'll notice something weird about that page number. It says page number 1, right? Well, that can't be right, right? Because it's page number 2. So let's talk about how we get this last name and page number here. So you'll notice that this looks a little gray. I can double click at the top of the page, and you can do this in on Google Docs as well, other programs. If you double click at the top of the page, you can type in whatever you want, and this becomes what's a header. It shows up on every single page. And what I did here is I typed Ramirez last name, and I typed the number 1. okay? But realize what that did is it said 1's going to show up on all pages. So I can't just type the letter 1. That's not going to, I'm sorry, the number 1. That's not going to work. What I have to do is I go up here, look over here to the top left-hand side, and there's an icon here that says page number. If I click on page number, I can tell it to put a page number in the current position, plain number, and it adds that. Well, it's page 1, so it adds page 1, okay? But look what happens on page 2. Look, the computer automatically did that. So this is this page number function, and you use that so that you can put in the page number correctly, right? So we type whatever we want up there. Notice this is all the way over to the right. I did that. If I highlight this and I go over to the home section over here, you see these icons over here? They move things around. So this one would move it all the way to the left. This one would center it. This would move it all the way to the right. In the formatting, it is all the way to the right, and so that's the one that you want there. Okay. Then if you look over here, I've got this heading, last name, my name, the name of the course, and the date, and it's all the way over there. If you can see up here these rulers, you can move these rulers around, and they'll do things like move the entire text. Okay. This needs to be all the way over to the left. It needs to be lined up with that. So these two things are together. But look what happens when I go down here to the first paragraph where it's indented. So this top line says what's going to happen to the first line, and this one says what's going to happen to everything else, right? And so this has what's called a first line indent that goes in. You can see this is 1 inch, so this is a ½ inch. Now, I want you to get used to using this. Students a lot of times will just tab this, right? Which I find amusing because tabs are something that are left over from typewriters. I learned how to tab when I learned how to do typewriters. I'm old enough that we didn't have computers back then, and we had to use typewriters. And so you use this tab function. But it's better to set this up as a paragraph, because what will happen is if you set it up as a paragraph, you never need to think about it again. You get to the end of a paragraph, you just hit enter, and it automatically puts in the indent for you. You don't have to think, and it will always be the appropriate indent. It will always be a ½ inch, and so you can set that up like that. You can also, by the way, if you see this paragraph section here, and we click on this, we get a dialog box, and it tells us you can do a first line indent of ½ inch, so it does it there for us, and we want double space, right? It tells us to double space everything. So that's one of the ways you can set everything up, and so I think it's important that we know how to do that appropriately, partly because, again, in other kind of situations you're going to be in, you want to make sure that your documents look correct. This is I use this example a lot, that a lot of times when people apply for jobs, they turn in cover letters. There are things you need to, documents that you need to submit in order to be able to get a job. Even if you submit them electronically, they pile up in somebody's email, somebody's inbox. They've got a lot of documents in there, a lot of applications, and it's too many to go through. So what they'll do is they'll get an intern, somebody who's just working there for experience, and say, you know what, go through all the applications and get rid of all the ones that have bad formatting. And that is a way that people do things, right? Because they're just like, look, people didn't follow directions and didn't do the right formatting, kick them out, right? We're not going to deal with those people. If they can't do their formatting correctly, we're not going to deal with them. Some of those people they threw out may have been the perfect candidates for the job, but they didn't get a chance because they didn't do their formatting correctly. So you want to make sure that you are doing your formatting correctly, right? So these little things are going to matter. So like I said, we've got last name and page number. We've got your name, my name, the name of the course, the date done in this format, the title centered, ½ inch indent for the paragraphs, and then in all subsequent pages, you're going to have the last name and the page number. So that's the basic information you need to know about how to do MLA formatting, and we will have talked about this in class. You can review it here on the video. You're going to take the MLA formatting quiz. You can take that as many times as possible. You don't have to memorize it, right? So you can keep taking it. I'll grade it, and I'll say check this thing and go back until you get it right. And then hopefully you'll have it right for the rest of the semester. So keep all that in mind, and we'll talk about it some more in class.